Hello and welcome to Firestorm Games. In this video we're going to be showing you how you can easily paint your Ultramarines from the Dark Imperium box set to a tabletop standard, and we'll be using the Citadel range of paints to do so. After assembling your miniature, the first task is to prime it, and for this you can either use the Corax White or Chaos Black spray paint. Once primed, the next step is to get the blue colour of the armour, and for this I've used Macragge Blue. Now I've used the Macragge Blue spray paint for this, however if you don't have access to this, you could apply this with a brush over the entirety of the model instead. Once we have a base coat, the next step is to dry brush Calgar Blue over the entirety of the armour. Now to dry brush, simply take your brush and take a small amount of paint on the tip of that brush. Wipe the paint off the tip of the brush until only a very small amount of paint remains. Once this is done, we can now start dragging the brush across the entirety of the miniature. As you can see, the paint will start to build up on some of the raised edges of the miniature and help to create some detailing in the armour. With the dry brushing completed, we can now start painting some of the details on the armour, and for this we're going to be starting off using Abaddon Black. Using our Abaddon Black, we want to paint the areas in between the armour panels, as well as the stock of the weapon as well. You may find some of these areas quite tricky to get into, however if you use a small brush with just a small amount of paint on that brush, you should have no problem tackling these areas. The next step is to paint the red areas of the miniature, and for this I'll be using Mephiston Red. The areas we wish to paint red on this miniature include the wax part of the Purity Seal, the grip on the power sword, and also the lenses in the helmet. When painting these areas, be sure not to overspill onto the blue areas that we've already painted. The next area of our miniature that we'll be tackling will be the bone and parchment coloured areas of the miniature, and for this I'll be using Rakarth Flesh. On this particular miniature I'll be painting the two small skulls hanging at the waist and also the parchment hanging from the Purity Seal. You will find that the Rakarth Flesh gives us a really nice colour to work from for both the bone and paper materials. The next step in painting our Ultramarine is to use Mournfang Brown to tackle the leather areas of the miniature. The leather areas on this particular miniature include the various pouches and equipment items hanging from the belt, and I'll be painting all of these entirely with Mournfang Brown. In this next step, we will now begin working on the metallic areas of the miniature, starting with the silver metallic areas, and for this we'll be using Leadbelcher. There are many areas on this miniature that we want to paint using Leadbelcher. This includes the metal sections of the pistol and also the sword, including the vents and also additional pipes and items across the miniature. When painting with metallics, be exceptionally careful not to overspill onto the areas we've already painted, as metallics can be quite difficult to paint over. With the silver metallic areas tackled, the next step is to paint any gold on the miniature, and for this I'll be using Retributor Armour. The areas that I'll be painting gold in this step include the trim on the shoulder pads, the crests on both the leg and also the chest, and also the container holding the two skulls that's hanging from the belt. With the base coats completed, the next step is to apply some washes to the miniature in order to enhance some of the detailing, and first of all I'll be using Nuln Oil. In this step I'll be applying the Nuln Oil wash to all of the silver metallic areas we painted in the previous step. You will find that this wash will pull into those recesses and really help to bring out some of the detailing in the miniature. The final step in painting our miniature is to apply a second wash of Seraphin Sepia. In this step I'll be applying the Seraphin Sepia wash to many areas of the miniature. This includes the gold coloured areas, the red areas, the bone and paper coloured areas, and finally the brown leather areas as well. Much like our previous wash, this step will serve to enhance some of the detailing in the miniature. And here we have the completed miniature. Now whilst the scheme won't win any competitions, it is a very quick and easy way of getting your miniatures painted and onto the tabletop. If you enjoyed this video and would like to see more tutorials in the future, please do let us know in the comments below, as well as hitting that subscribe button to be kept up to date with all of our future videos. You can find all the paints, brushes and miniatures used in this tutorial on the Firestorm Games web store, which you can find a link to in the description below. All that's left to say is thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you again on Firestorm Games.